arrested for absolutely nothing for supporting the South Africa-Malawi game. Police were intimidating us, put us in the back of a van, driving like madness, manhandled, spray peppered, all for nothing. Children were just thrown over. Just for the record, today's date is the 11th of May, South Africa vs Malawi game at Loftus Stadium.
That was a clip showing you the insides, or rather just an update in terms of how the, peaceful demonstrators were being handled. And tonight we are joined by Ali Komape from the Africa for Palestine to just discuss the troubling incident involving the South African Football Association and their controversial ban on Palestinian solidarity at soccer matches and the violent removal of peaceful fans during the recent South Africa versus Malawi game. Ali Komape, jazakallah so much for joining us, and assalamu alaikum to you.
Walaikum salam to you, and thank you for having us.
No, last week I know, or previously when you were with us, you joined in and you were just giving us insight in terms of what actually transpired. You guys were sitting and suddenly hostility came because the police were removing you guys, and through the clip we're hearing other testimonies in terms of how they were being handled and how they are then transported to, police quarters in that sense. Now, and I think this brings me to my question to you tonight in terms of what is the update on the 5 activists who were arrested, known as the 5 Loftus?
The Loftus 5, as they are called now, have, in the first instance, pressed criminal charges against the police.
Okay.
So they've charged the police with, among other things, complaint, not really charged because that's up to authorities to do. They've complained that they've been assaulted, they've been unfairly detained, they've been unlawfully arrested. Some of them, their personal properties were damaged and or lost in that particular incident, and they've lodged that complaint with the Independent Police Directorate, I think it's IPID, because the police can investigate themselves. So IPID will take over that case. Secondly, they have lodged a complaint with the South African Human Rights Commission that their rights were violated and they were infringed upon. This is freedom of expression, among other things, and right of association, among others, that they've complained to the South African Human Rights Commission. In that complaint to the South African Human Rights Commission, they are complaining about South African Police Services and SAFA. The South African Football Association, SAFA, was the host country for that event, an event that we bought tickets to, an event that they invited us to as South Africans to go watch Bafana and Malawi. In addition to that complaint, they've sent a lot of demands through their lawyers to the South African Football Association. Among the demands is SAFA to give clarity on who gave out the instruction for the football supporters to be beaten up, to be pepper sprayed, to be assaulted, and to be arrested. So those are the 3 steps in a series of events that the Loftus 5 have taken. And we believe that in due course, members of the media and the general public will be alerted to many other actions that will be taken by the Loftus 5 in holding the authorities accountable for violation of their rights.
And we literally hope and pray that actually justice prevail, and this will set precedents to say this doesn't happen again, and nobody has to go through such hostilities and, forceful removal when not even protesting violently in that instance. But just for viewers who missed our first conversation in understanding the Red Card Israel campaign, can you tell us a bit on its impact and why is its presence at the match was so important?
The Red Card Israel campaign is an international campaign by many bodies, by many states, and by other football associations, of course, that Israel does not belong in FIFA, that Israel violates the statute of FIFA. Specifically, Israel violates statutes of FIFA on discrimination. It discriminates against indigenous Palestinians in their own land, racism, apartheid, and grave human rights violations. So in reference, to put it in reference, right, Russia was expelled by FIFA shortly after their military um, operations in Ukraine. Their soccer team was not involved in that. The Russian Football Federation was not involved in that. It was the Russian government that doing that. So Israel is committing a genocide against Palestinians. Moreover to that, Palestinians have proof that, number one, Israeli teams that are registered under the Israeli Football Association or Federation, play in and operate on illegal lands and illegal settlements. So that also violates FIFA statute. So it's not only this genocide that maybe now we're saying Israel must be kicked out of FIFA. It's a long conversation that has started by the Palestinian Football Association, by other federations as well. FIFA just recently had their congress in Latin America, and in that particular congress, the Palestinians are saying, you've been saying you're investigating this matter. You've been saying there's an independent body looking into this matter. It's been over 2 years now, over 3 years if I'm not mistaken, that you said you look into this matter. What are you doing? Some federations walked out of the conference venue, including Palestinians and others. The Norwegian Football Association is one of those that moved out. So it's not only a human rights activist type of an arrangement, but there are football federations across the world that are doing it. Now going back to the fan bases. Fans across the world go to the stadium for different messagings. So the fans that go to the stadium to call for a free Palestine are there, and it's been historic. It's not a new thing. For instance, if you look at football in crazy countries, if I may use that jargon, in Scotland, the biggest team there, the Celtic Glasgows, their fans are very popular across the world in calling for a free Palestine. If you look at big countries as well, that you would ordinarily think they support Israel. In France, PSG, that's now going to the Champions League final. The PSG Ultras, the fans of the team, they just recently now, by the way, during the Champions League campaign, had a big banner that says Free Palestine, Free Gaza. You have teams in North Africa, the big teams, Al Ahly, the biggest team in Egypt, the biggest team in the continent actually, in terms of success and so on, that recently was in South Africa, and their fans, when they came here, carried Palestinian flags and so on. So this messaging is not something isolated. It's not unique to South Africa. It's not a case that we went to the stadium and said, no, it's an international campaign done by international fan bases of big and international clubs across the world. So we went to the stadium to do that, to lend our hand to the campaign that FIFA, some belief, just expel Israel out of the federation, isolate them, same as you did to Russia, but in retrospect, same as you did to apartheid South Africa. Apartheid South Africa apartheid South African football was banned from FIFA. Yeah. We got reintroduced back, I think, in 1991. Bafana Bafana. We were banned all along. So this is not new. FIFA has been doing this consistently. So and looking in general on international bodies, international agents, and international laws and policies, why is Israel treated different? Why is everyone treated the same under the law, but the apartheid Jewish state of Israel is held at a different standard? So that is the campaign.
And I think the question always lingers to say, at what point will FIFA then make that decision that everybody has been speaking to say it's not the first time? I mean, many other countries were, saw themselves being sanctioned by FIFA through whatever political actions that they saw that FIFA needed to take against them. But just coming back to South Africa, I want to now understand, how do you then interpret SAFA's ban on Palestinian solidarity in light of South Africa's well-known stance against injustice, oppression, and what does it say about SAFA's leadership and how it aligns with the core values of South Africa?
We believe SAFA must answer. They must answer on why South Africans who are protected under the Constitution, the Constitution that we fought for, the Constitution that we died for, those rights are protected under that Constitution. Now, why is SAFA saying our constitutional rights to freedom of speech must be infringed upon? We must be kicked, we must be beaten with batons, we must be pushed, shoved, we must be arrested, put in jail cells, must be prosecuted in courts for saying Israel must be out of FIFA. SAFA must explain themselves. And we've given them that opportunity. And I think the South African Human Rights Commission, also in its investigation, will give FIFA that opportunity to say, look, why are you doing this? And we believe that, we would like to believe that really SAFA is better than that. the South African Football Association, which we know and we love, would not do that. We believe there's rogue elements inside SAFA. We believe there's rogue elements within probably the chain of command, from SAFA to the stadium management, to South African police offices. There are rogue elements that SAFA must say, if we are innocent of this particular crime, this is the person who's responsible. And we think SAFA, and we'll give them the olive branch. We'll give SAFA that olive branch, that they should come out and say, look, Free Palestine is a wonderful thing. We agree with it, freedom for everyone, and so on. We were not responsible for this particular action. It was this person. And we want that so that we know the ball is in which court, pun intended. So we know exactly who's who in the zoo. So we believe SAFA is a reputable organization that has a moral, high ground and moral authority. They can't be responsible for this. But of course, they must prove otherwise because we have charged them with that crime.
And we're seeing that South Africa, seeing in the past incidents, took Israel to ICJ, and we're really quite, welcoming the recommendations made by the ICJ. But just coming back to this incident in question, how do you believe this incident might shape, global opinions about South Africa's dedication to protecting freedoms of expression and its broader value?
Funny enough, just a funny story. One of the people who were being beaten up and arrested was saying, Ramaphosa won't be happy with this, with what you're doing, because President Ramaphosa has went to the world stage and he has said, look, we stand with Palestinians, we believe there's genocide happening in Gaza, and we give solidarity to Palestinians. President Ramaphosa is one of the few presidents across the world, if not the only one, who consistently calls them an apartheid state. He consistently calls them out on their human rights violations, and so on. We have a country that is proud. We are a proud nation that supports those who are oppressed. In Palestine, in Western Sahara, in Congo and others, South Africa lends support. It's not because we are good people, it's not because we are better, it's not because we are built different, no. It's because of our experience of apartheid. During the time that we were oppressed, it was ordinary people in the streets of London, ordinary people in the streets of Tokyo, ordinary people in the streets of Ramallah that said apartheid is wrong in Palestine and it must end. So in this particular instance, South Africans feel that there's a moral debt that they have to the world. There's no specific person. In fact, if South Africans were free during the Holocaust, we would have said to Hitler, what you're doing to the Jews is wrong, so stop it. In this particular instance, we are saying what Israel is doing to Palestinians is wrong. Now, we can't have the South African Police Service, an organ of the state, pulling the other direction. It's unacceptable. And we believe that this would have reached the ears of the president, that such and such has happened to South Africans, law-abiding South Africans who were not provocative, that didn't infringe on anybody's rights. And we think that because of the organs of state and separation of powers, the president can't pick up a call and say to the police, hey, what are you doing? There are processes that the president must let unfold. And we think even in that process, when there's that, the president will be able to say, what has happened? This president followed and put his hand down and intervene. We believe that he will do. And we believe that he's very disappointed in what the South African Police Service has done. He's very disappointed in how South African Football Association have handled the situation, because he simply can't go to on a world stage. I mean, now he's in America, I think. He's in America. He can't go to America and say to Donald Trump, hey, by the way, people are being slaughtered in Gaza, please stop it. When his own police service here is arresting people who are saying the same thing.
Still on the parallels between, what had happened in South Africa and versus what is currently happening in Palestine, where they're fighting for self-determination and their freedoms. Do you feel that this is why many South Africans feel the freedom of Palestine is so important, or there are bigger reasons that we are not aware of?
Look, I often tell a story that most South Africans don't know where the Middle East, how the Middle East is organized. If you can put out a map and say, show me Palestine, most South Africans won't be able to show you. I mean, Palestine also is being erased in what education history books and whatever. I mean, you won't be watching National Geographic, for argument's sake, and you see the map of Palestine and so on. But if you were to ask South Africans about Palestinians, they'll tell you, we know they're oppressed, we know it's wrong, we know it must stop, and we support them. And that is the culture of South Africans. There was one moment that I think we were in Orange Farm in Soweto, and one man in a shack had a Palestinian flag up on his wall.
Wow.
and those are South Africans. So South Africans have a huge spirit of Ubuntu that we give to Palestinians. But secondly, there's another interesting story that is not told many times. Nelson Mandela and his folks, when they went outside to go form this armed resistance against apartheid, they were trained in Algeria. In Algeria, in the camps where they were being trained in guerrilla warfare, they were alongside Palestinian freedom fighters as well. They formed a brotherly and sisterly and comradely alliance there. They tell stories of how fun is it that they were arguing, when you get your freedom, you help me with my freedom. They said, no, when I get my freedom, so they had that jokingly brotherly way. So when South Africa got its freedom, it was a no-brainer that we have people that we struggle with. We have people that are close to our hearts that we must help. So it's multifaceted. But in this particular case, there's no financial benefit. There's no political benefit. I mean, politically, South Africa is suffering now from the United States by taking Israel to the International Court of Justice. All these sanctions by Donald Trump and others is purely, and we know this because of the case of genocide against Israel, the ICJ. So South Africans we are special, and I think Palestinians know that they hold a very special place in our hearts.
Now, coming back to the campaign itself, Ricard, on Israel and seeing what transpired at the game in question, what would be the ideal outcome of this situation in terms of now with the court proceedings and how Loftus is taking this beyond just, campaigning, but also just holding those people responsible for what they went through to account, right? And what do you hope the legacy of this incident will be?
Look, I think they shook the wrong tree. It's either they know our work, they know what we do, or they don't. And they've made a grave mistake. And I think this is not only a tit for tat between us and them. This is a lesson to the authorities of South Africa that peaceful gatherings, peaceful protests, it was not a protest in our part. We bought tickets to the stadium. But people gathered peacefully, protected under particular rights, must not be tampered with, particularly when it comes to Palestine solidarity. And I'm going to give an example. When our director back in 2014, Mohammed Desai, was kicked out of Virgin Active for wearing a shirt written boycott Israel, few moments later, Virgin Active gave a national apology to Mohammed Desai. Palestinian solidarity movement in South Africa, and Palestinians in general all over the world, that we are sorry that we did this. The South African police service shook the wrong tree. We will not let this go. And I can promise you right now, they are shivering in their boots because they now know the gravity of what they've done. If they think that we are pushovers, they've got another thing coming. We did nothing wrong. There's video footage of us doing nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing unlawful we did. In fact, all the video footage you can see on social media is police heavily handling the elderly and minors as young as 5 years old in a stadium. We didn't do anything wrong. So now the case against them is continuing, and we think it's going to be dropped. We think there's no sober magistrate and or judge who can preside over this case. That it's frivolous at its core. The card is going to be thrown out, and then these two cases, the case that must be investigated by the Independent Police Directorate into the police conduct, and the case by the South African Human Rights Commission into the stadium management, South African Police Service, and SAFA. So these two cases, we are very confident. We are 110% confident that we'll get the outcome we are looking for against this. Because our history as a Palestinian solidarity movement in this country, our history will show you that we are very peaceful, albeit strategic and tactical. We are very peaceful in what we do. I mean, one of our largest campaigns a few years back was the boycott Woolworths campaign, the successful campaign. We were never violent. We never beat anyone. We never infringed on anyone's rights. We were doing flash mobs. We were doing store till jams and so on. We were never violent. We do not have a history of violence. It has never been there. We operate under the auspice of the South African law. So our history speaks to itself. We are not violent. We've never been violent. We've always been under the auspice of the law. And we are confident that the Independent Police Director will vindicate us. We are confident that South African Human Rights Commission will vindicate us, and we believe that amongst themselves, the South African Police Service, South African Football Association, and perhaps CAF, if they're involved, they will expose each other. The center, they will expose the center. They'll expose exactly where this instruction to assault us and arrest us comes from.
Mr. Komape, when it comes to this global campaign that you were really giving us insight to in terms of red card on Israel, what's the next step moving forward? And what would be your call to action to us sitting here in studio as well as our viewers in terms of helping the five, or rather they are now coined as Loftus 5, and the cause of also Palestinian rights?
Look, we believe that FIFA is, and this is not a detrimental type of statement. We think there's a rot in FIFA. I mean, it's well documented, the corruption under Sepp Blatter. We've seen these international charges come in and so on. There's a rot in FIFA when it comes to Israel. And we think it must be exposed. So the Palestinian Football Association has been complaining about Israel for years, decades now. Nothing has been done. Why? What has Israel got that Russia doesn't have? What does Israel have that apartheid South Africa didn't have? It's an apartheid state that's actively killing people in Gaza. Why is FIFA silent? Why is FIFA saying, no, an independent committee is going to do investigation? What investigations? We are seeing the events in Gaza live and in HD on your televisions, on your cell phone social media. What investigation are you doing? That's taking you 3 years. Congress after Congress, FIFA says, we have an independent body that's investigating. We must uphold the independent integrity of... No. In fact, FIFA must leave it to the Congress floor. The floor of federations that are affiliated to FIFA must then decide. But FIFA is not doing it. So what we're saying is every football match you go to, right? Every football match you go to, carry that red card Israel shirt, wear it, carry that Palestine flag, wave it. Wherever FIFA is, wherever it's present, they must know that there are people who support the beautiful sport, who don't want murderers and genociders like Israel in it. So our people back at home, if you're watching this and you follow soccer, we have this shirt. Get it. We have it on our website, I think. Get it, wear it to wear it to the stadium, wear it to your kids' under 6 tournament at school. Wear it. Say to FIFA, we don't appreciate Israel in our beautiful sport. And we know that the end game of this is Israel being kicked out of FIFA, or Israel ceasing from human rights violations in Palestine, and therefore we can all play the beautiful sport together.
Inshallah. But Ali Komape, jazakallah so much, for joining us this evening and really giving us an update in terms of, the legal action initiated against SAFA, as well as all the members involved in the mishandling of, some of the individuals who were there to actually watch the game, and the only crime they committed was wearing red card Israel. Jazakallah so much for joining us.
Shukran for having me.
Viewers at home, that was my conversation with Ali Komape from Africa for Palestine, giving us an update in terms of what transpired at the stadium in question and what action was taken by the Loftus 5, and his call to action on how we can continue to showing support to ensuring we put pressure on FIFA in making the right decision and stop hiding behind the word investigation. But viewers at home, this is where we close it for now. Let's head over to it at break. We'll see you just after that.